father-daughter team, investing in the youth when the system ain't treating them equal. Providing truth for our people, we able to reach them. So anytime you get accused for a crime and Lord knows you ain't do it, we here to get you through it. Exemplifying prudence and glorifying God, making sure you're compensated for other people's doings. Our vision is to be one of the best. We're small enough to focus on your matter throughout the neighborhoods of Dallas. Working constantly and making sure your rights are protected. A firm team of lawyers, aggressive, effective. A team that has your back in the courtroom. Two well-spoken black lawyers in the courtroom. Investing time and resources when it's evident that you were treated wrong. Now you walking out of Dallas courtroom with a settlement. Corbin and Corbett, the father-daughter legal tag team that has your back in the courtroom. Our purpose is simple. To obtain the favorable outcome for each client and glorify Christ in all we do.
All right. This is Attorney Augustus Corbett, and I wanted to share some thoughts that I have regarding the Derek Chauvin trial. It has been an emotional week and a half or 2 weeks of a trial. I have watched this trial pretty much every day, in between hearings and in between, of course, taking care of our own clients here. And what I'm seeing is just very, very, very disturbing. It isn't new. I work in this system every day and have been doing so for the last 15 years. So I know the system. I'm very, very, very familiar with the criminal justice system, with the legal system generally, and how it targets African-American men. And we've seen it on full display here in the Derek Chauvin trial, full display. I mean, it is bare and laid wide open for everybody to see it. That is for people who want to see it. Now, some people are just willfully blind. They don't want to see it. They don't want to hear about it. And not all of those people are white. There are a good number of black people who wish that me and others who bring to light this issue of policing in black America and white supremacy, they wish we would shut up and go away. Well, guess what? We're not shutting up and we're not going away. If anything, we're going to turn it up because it is shameful what is happening to African Americans in this country generally, but especially when it comes to the criminal justice system, and even more especially when it comes to policing of black men in particular. Okay? Let me read a quote for you from a book that I have enjoyed and strongly recommend. The name of the book is Chokehold, and the author is Professor Paul Butler, a former U.S. prosecutor who had his own run-in with the law. And Professor Butler has written several good books, but this book particularly deals with the policing of black men in America. And he says something here that I believe sort of just captures all that I'm feeling and I see on a daily basis, and others in this system who see, and others who again will just look at this thing will see. Here's what he says. I'm quoting Paul Butler. Quote, "American cops are the enforcers of a criminal justice regime that targets black men and sets them up to fail." Let me read it again. American cops are the enforcers of a criminal justice regime that targets black men and sets them up to fail. No truer words have been spoken about the criminal justice system than those that Paul Butler wrote in this book. Policing in America, it started out wrong for black Americans, and it has not corrected itself. It is still wrong. It started out from slave patrols. It started out from whites using dogs and guns and etc. to hunt down runaway slaves, to control the slave population. And That is exactly what we see happening today in America. Policing is so corrupt and so racist toward black people. Before we could even get through the George Floyd trial, here comes another young black man getting killed for virtually nothing. I did a video on this, and we saw this young man trying to get away, which he should not have done, but it was not a capital offense. Here in Texas, that is what we call evading arrest. It is a third-degree felony. Most people with a clean record simply gets probation, and that'll be dismissed once they finish the probation. It is not getting shot to death. That is not the punishment for evading arrest here in the state of Texas. That young man should have not died. And before we could even get our heads around that, the police shoot a young Hispanic kid, a child, 13-year-old child. And by the way, this kid that was killed outside of Minneapolis, he was a child as well. I mean, I think he was 20, 21. That in my book is a child. So this Hispanic kid, 13 years old, he clearly was on videotape with his hands up. Okay, the police told him to get his hands up, and as soon as he put his hands up, they shoot him through the chest. Center mass, straight through the chest. Okay? This is crazy, what is happening. And there is no trial that I have seen in the last 30-something years that brings it out more than the Derek Chauvin trial. We saw it with Rodney King, right? We saw 4 police officers beat him bloody, and they all were acquitted. So now this is the latest one and the biggest one, and to me the most instructive one. This trial with this Derek Chauvin, as he murdered, in my opinion, as he murdered, we're still going to hear from the jury and see if they agree, but as he murdered George Floyd. Every time I look at in fact, when they show the video of Chauvin's knee on Floyd's neck, I turn my head, I close my eyes. I can't bear to look at it. It's a lynching. That's what it is. You look up the definition of a lynching, and that's exactly what happened to him. He got lynched before our very eyes as he begged for his life, as 15 or so people, diverse backgrounds, diverse ages, etc., begged for his life. They could have cared less. And why? Why did all that happen? Let's back up. Let's back all the way up. And let's ask the simple question: why did all that happen to George Floyd? You want to know why? Over a allegedly fake $20 bill. Over $20. Over a fake, allegedly, they haven't even proven that the $20 bill was fake. All of that over a $20 bill. All of that, all of this mayhem over $20. That $20 bill cost the city of Minneapolis, cost them $27 million. That $20 cost the city of Minneapolis $27 million. Cost cities across America so much money, billions of dollars, I would imagine. All because 4 cops showed up, was told that a black man was trying to pass a $20 bill. Forgery, trying to pass a fraudulent $20 bill. And instead of them saying, you know what, here's a ticket, just show up to court, we'll see you next week, or we'll see you in court, here, just sign this and go on about your business. Instead of them doing that, they murdered the man. Again, the jury hasn't come back with the murder verdict. I'm hoping they do, but I'm trying to make this point. $20. The chief testified, the chief of the Minneapolis Police Department testified that they usually don't even arrest people for that. If you get a speeding ticket, it's worth more than $20. A speeding ticket may cost you $100 or $200, and usually the police officer goes, checks, make sure you have no warrants, write you a ticket, give you the ticket, and let you go. Well, this was in that category. From a monetary perspective, this was in that category. Just write a ticket and let the man go. All right? But no, they got to get all bad. Why? This is where the racism comes in. Because this is a black man we're talking about. When it's a black man, they go to the extreme. They take it to the nth degree. When it's a black man, their adrenaline is already flowing. It seems as if they walk on the scene with it in their minds already that this is a criminal. I will use the most serious, training that I have to subdue this black man, and I will kill him if he doesn't do exactly what I tell him to do. Now contrast that with the many white men that we've seen who have done a whole lot worse, and they don't even draw their guns. I saw a video just the other day of a white man in a white pickup truck. A police officer is hanging on to the truck for dear life. This white man is ramming his truck into police cars. He is driving off with the police hanging on, and no one pulled their gun. No one. He was a serious, deadly threat to every officer out there, yet they never pulled their gun. This was also in the state of Minnesota. We have seen white men shoot up a place, murder a bunch of people, and walk away. We've seen videos of white men getting in fights with police officers, walking away. A black man, if he has a phone in his hand, he's killed. If he reaches for something, he's shot. If he has a criminal record, whatever he does, they're going to take it to the furthest extent that they can take it. Why? Because policing started wrong in this country, and it has not changed. Mr. Floyd, I completely understand him not wanting to get in the back of that small compartment in the back of that police car. And it wasn't really even a matter of him not wanting to get back there. The man said over and over and over again, I'm claustrophobic. I can't breathe back here. At that point, it wasn't him resisting. His fears had taken over at that point. That was just a primal, visceral fear that he had. It wasn't that he wasn't willing to comply, but his mind was telling him that a big man like himself would literally die in the back of that car from not being able to breathe, from being, in a small compartment like that. And so you say, well, all he had to do was just get in there and comply. Well, at the same time, All the police had to do was call for a bigger vehicle. Why couldn't they do that? And let me tell you why I know about this personally. Because almost 2 years ago, this coming May, next month, the 19th, exactly 1 month from now, will be the 2-year anniversary that me, my daughter, and my son, and almost my wife got arrested here in Dallas, spent a night in jail because we complained about being racially profiled. And when they handcuffed me, and they were about to put me in this compartment this size, I'm 6'2", 6'3", 4", depending on what I'm wearing. And at that time, I was 280, 290. I couldn't fit back there. And I told the officer, I cannot fit back there. I cannot get back there. I was not resisting. I was not disrespectful. I was respectful. But there was just this thought in my mind. You know, when you're dealing with claustrophobia, small compartments like that will terrorize someone. And fortunately for me, someone said, get him a bigger car. So they put me in an SUV. And that saved a whole lot of problems because I would have been like George. I cannot get back there. And they would have, just like they did him, he's begging and screaming. All the officers had to do was what they did with me. Just get a bigger vehicle for this big man. George is bigger than me. I think George was 6'4" or so. Where is the compassion? Police officers can't be compassionate. The man was subdued. He was handcuffed. He was no threat to them. Why they just couldn't get a bigger car? Why come someone out there couldn't have said, okay, hold on, guys, hold on. Mr. Floyd, just hold on. We're going to get a bigger vehicle. Okay, just calm down. No problem. After all, let's go back to what I said. All of this was over $20. The police, someone should have said this, he's not accused of raping someone. He's not accused of murdering someone. He didn't just shoot up the place and kill 5 people. I mean, look. The young man went inside a black church, murdered, assassinated 9 people in a Bible study, walked away, and I'm told that they took him to Burger King to get a hamburger. Had just murdered 9 people, point blank, cold blooded, sat in Bible study with them. And the police find it in their hearts to take him to Burger King. Why couldn't they have gotten a bigger car for George? Or better yet, why couldn't they have just said, look, take the cuffs off of him, just give him a ticket and let him go his way, we go our way. We got bigger, much more important things to be doing than out here going through all of this, spending all this city money. I mean, 4 officers, 5 officers, EMS, all of this over $20. This incenses me. And let me tell you another personal story. I was representing a homeless man who had picked up a piece of scrap metal off a railroad track that really didn't belong to anybody. And when I was negotiating with the prosecutor about a plea deal to try and get this man out of jail, He had already, by the time they appointed me to represent him, he had already been in jail now for a month. And when I was looking through the discovery, through the evidence, I came upon a document where they had assessed the value of the piece of metal that he had allegedly stolen. It came back at a value of 96 cents. This is a true story. They held that man in jail at $40 or $50 a day, feeding him and everything else, over a 90 cents piece of scrap metal that really belonged to nobody. They cost taxpayers about multiply 40 times 30, about 90 days, whatever that comes out to be. That is the craziness, the stupidity that oftentimes gets in these cops and in the criminal justice system when it comes to a black man. And so he stayed there, and that's not the end of the story. He stayed in jail. He was in jail like a month before I got, month or so, I can't remember exactly. And when I began to negotiate with the prosecutor about giving him time served, just let the man out, it's only 96 cents. She was recommending 18 more months. 18 more months over stealing allegedly a 96 cents piece of scrap metal on a railroad that we don't know who it belonged to. It could have belonged to one of the trains that were going. We didn't know. Yet they locked him up because he was a homeless guy. They locked him up because he didn't have the money. And they were recommending now an additional 18 months. And this is our taxpaying money. That is the insanity in the criminal justice system, especially when it's black men. Do you not understand? Policing in black America is deeply racist. It started from a white supremacist system, and it was never corrected. It was never corrected. It has never seriously been reformed. And the situation with policing blacks is probably a lot worse than it is. We actually don't know, because there has never been a law passed that requires law enforcement to keep records, to keep data, so that we can see how many black men they're killing, so we can see a lot of this. There are no records. It is in the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, a bill that has passed the House, that is now sitting in the Senate, that will require, if it's enacted, will require police departments, some 18,000 different police departments around the country, to start collecting this kind of data so that we can really see what's going on. It's a lot worse than you think. We're just seeing the high profile cases, the ones that hit the media. It's much worse than you think. It's so bad that we as black parents, we definitely have to tell our children. We have to have that talk with them, because we know one slip and some young black man out there is shot to death for nothing. It is so bad that even Pat Robertson, staunchly conservative Pat Robertson, called out the police a couple of days ago. This is just got to stop. This is unfair. This is a travesty of justice. And black men are paying the price with their lives, literally with their lives. And the George Floyd murder and the Derek Chauvin trial shows it in stark reality. I listened to Eric Nelson, the defense lawyer, the criminal defense lawyer, who is really a colleague of mine, because I've never been a prosecutor. I've never prosecuted anyone. So I've been a criminal defense lawyer since I began practicing law. So I understand that Mr. Nelson has a job to do, et cetera. But it was a racist defense. There's no other way to put it. And if I were to ever have a visit with him, I would tell him that was a very racist defense that you put forth defending Derek Chauvin. He made George Floyd the defendant. That's what he did. He put forth a defense that only white people could understand, and some blacks. Okay, there are some blacks out there who are just, they've so drunk the Kool-Aid that if they see a black man doing anything in their minds, then the police was justified. I've had blacks to tell me that. Okay? So I understand that Mr. Nelson has a job to do, but the defense that he put forth was just flat racist. It was one that would only resonate with whites and some blacks. Anyone sitting there with an ounce of compassion would see that this should have never happened to this man, that this could have been all dealt with had they dealt with him like they deal with so many white men. Just a little compassion, just a little restraint, just de-escalating the situation. And again, this was all over $20. All over $20. For that matter, somebody could have went in their pocket and gave George $20 or gave the store $20. Here's $20. Just think about that a minute. Here's the $20. One of the officers, here's the $20, sir. So don't worry about it. You got your money back. George, go on your way. Here's a ticket. We're going to go. Wouldn't that have been a whole lot better now for everybody? George would be living. Derek Chauvin would not be fighting for his life. The city of Minneapolis would not have spent $27 million in a civil lawsuit. The country would not have been traumatized watching this awful video. Had somebody just took a breath and said, it's not that big a deal. It's just not that big a deal. But why is it a big deal? Because of George's race. Because he was a big black man. And that was part of the defense that Eric Nelson put forth. He was high, he's big, they didn't say it, but they may as well. He's black, therefore he's dangerous. And so we got to do what we got to do. We got to keep our knee on his neck because he's the big black boogeyman of America. The big black boogeyman of America, and it's our sworn duty. They won't say this, and they don't write that on the cars. On the cars, they say protect and serve. On the cars, they say show compassion. But like everything else in America, that applies to white people and not to black people. Are you following what I'm saying here? So no compassion for George Floyd, no compassion for Daunte Wright, no compassion for that young Hispanic kid. If that was a young white kid, you believe for a minute they would have shot him through the chest? Come on here. Of course not. If that was a young white kid trying to get away like Daunte Wright tried to get, do you think that woman would have, she wouldn't have even pulled her taser? Let him go. Let him go. Just let him go. We'll get him. That's what they should have done with Daunte. His car was pointed away from all those officers. They could have got him later. They got his license tag. They know who he was. They ran his record. They know exactly where he was. They know exactly what to do and where he lived. Just go pick him up later. You ain't got to shoot him. But what did they see? They saw a black man. And that's why I pray that this case comes back with the guilty verdict, to send a message. Think about, imagine the message that will be sent if Derek Chauvin gets away with this. Imagine what that says to every white police officer. Imagine what this is. And by the way, a black police officer on the Minneapolis Police Department got 12 years for killing a white woman. 12 years. That was not intentional. There was no malice there. He got 10 years for that. 12 years. All right? So imagine the message that would be sent if we see a police officer choke the life out of a man as he begged and as others beg for his life. Literally second by second, George was losing life, begging for his mama, begging for air, people begging for him, and Chauvin squeezed. He put the pressure on to make sure, looks like to me, to make sure George had died, and then stayed on him another 2 or 3 minutes. Why? Where's that callousness come from? Because that's a black man down there. The prosecutors, they couldn't say that. I'm saying it for them. That was a black man down there. That was a black man under his knee. That's why they did that. Because they figure the system will not do anything to me for killing this black man. Nothing. I'll get away with it. The jury will set me. It is a good chance that somebody, one of those white people on that jury, will say, I can't convict him. George Floyd died of this. Following all that junk that Eric Nelson was talking about. He died from drugs. He died from a heart attack. He died from all of that. He brought it on himself. It is a good chance that this jury will be hung. I hope not, because the message will be awful. That'll become the new standard. Now you can choke a black man to death with your knee while he's handcuffed in the prone position and cause asphyxiation, cause him to lose life because you've cut his air from getting to his brain, cause him severe brain damage, cause his heart to stop, again from asphyxiation. And so that's the new standard. So now you can do that, and we still won't get convicted. Probably won't even get charged. And oh, by the way, they can't really do anything because that $27 million, they can't even do anything in civil court. That $27 million, that comes from the taxpayers. That didn't come from Derek Chauvin. Not one dime came out of his pocket for that. So it doesn't hurt them to kill a black man. That Paul Butler says in his book, the system is broken on purpose. The system is broken on purpose. It works the way it was designed. It was designed wrong, and it has never been corrected. That's why people are calling for defunding the police. That's why people are calling for radical changes of the way policing is done in America. And folks are pushing back. But what are we going to do? They're not going to reform themselves. That's clear. What are we going to do? I'm not necessarily advocating defunding the police, but I am advocating some radical reforms. And if that doesn't work, then yes, let's defund them. Let's put some money, some grants and all that stuff they're getting from our taxpaying dollars. Let's give that to some organization or agency that can help African-American men stay away from police officers. So I see the logic in it. I completely see the logic in it. This has been going on for so long, it doesn't appear to me that they're going to change it on their own. And this has to change. This has to change. And as I close, I'm not hopeful that it's going to change, to be honest with you, because the way things change here in America is you got to change the law. And the Republican-controlled the GOP that makes up 50 of those senators in the Senate who can stop any kind of legislation from passing, they're not on board with reforming the police. The police is there to protect them. That's why this thing is racist. That's why. I mean, the police in their minds protect them from us. So they're not about to do anything to draw in the police, to cause the police to lose any of that power and authority out on the streets as they're dealing with black folks. So I'm not hopeful. And right now, if the Congress doesn't change it, then it has to come from the U.S. Supreme Court. There are 6 conservatives up there who really doesn't care anything for black folks. 3 of them are Trump appointees. So I'm not sure. I don't think there'll be any changes. But in a small way, this jury can make a small statement. This jury, can't change policing across the country, but it will be a small statement to police officers in other places. This is intolerable. This is unacceptable. You cannot do this to people. You cannot do this to black people. I don't know what the verdict's going to be. I'm not even going to predict because, again, I know that the defense was just trying to get one person. The defense was talking directly to white people. Directly. Because that is the only person, and some blacks, I have to keep saying that defense would resonate with. Everybody else would just have compassion for George, would see with their own eyes what Chauvin did, but someone who got some bias toward police officers, toward white police officers, toward, and against blacks, especially one who got drugs, and they're not going to see this from a compassionate perspective. They're not going to see this as, doing what you can to preserve black life. They're going to see it from the perspective of the police, which is he should have complied. He got what he deserved. Mr. Chauvin was doing his job. And we know that is complete, total junk. All you have to do is think about Philando Castile, who was also in the state of Minnesota, who complied, who did exactly what they said, and they still shot him. Now, I've done a video where I said be smart. That means stay in your car, move when instructed, answer non-incriminating questions, record the encounter, talk respectfully. There are some who would disagree with me and say even when blacks comply. And I'm saying that too, that can happen. But I still believe that will de-escalate a situation oftentimes, and it could save lives. I read something Ben Crump said on his Facebook page. I admire him. He's a homeboy of mine. We're from the same area, about 30, 40 miles apart from where he grew up and where I grew up. But he said, and I agree with this, he said black people shouldn't have to go through all these measures not to get shot by trigger-happy racist cops. I completely agree with that. But because we are dealing with trigger-happy racist cops, I think we have to take it upon ourselves to do everything we can to walk away from that situation. You see? So let's hope that this verdict comes back with the one-word verdict and not the two-word verdict. The one-word verdict is guilty, not the 2 words, not guilty, or hung jury. Guilty verdict, so that a little message can be sent. It's a little one because it won't go all over the country. I mean, it won't impact policing all over the country. But it will say, no, that's unacceptable. All right. Go to my YouTube page, Corbett and Corbett. Go to our YouTube page. There are many other videos there, and you can get more commentary on not just the George Floyd, but if it's a legal matter that has to do with anything that has to do with the African American community, look, I'm your most trusted and reliable source. Okay, I'm on top of this. I'm on this like white on rice. Trust me. All right. And Chloe and I, we also, as you see here, we practice civil rights law. In fact, very quickly as I get out of here, we just were called on a case of a man who was shot a black man shot in the chest by police officers, killed, shot in the chest. Okay, I'm not saying these things because I'm a spectator. We represent these people. We have these calls often, every week at least. Shot him in the chest. He was having a mental health episode. Okay, you'll be hearing about it. All right, and we're going to try and help this family get justice. So, we're in this fight. And we're gonna stay in this fight. We got some comments here. Yes, got some good comments. Thank you all for these comments. Absolutely. Thank you all. All right. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. I get emotional about this stuff because it is wrong. It's an injustice. It's systemic injustice. And we have to fight it. And we have to fight it strong. All right. Peace. God bless y'all.